I want you to put your mind back to 2016, almost 7 years ago. 2016 is arguably the greatest season of NBA basketball ever. And if you're one of those people that asks how different is the NBA than it was in 2016, or if you just want to reflect on the good times of 2016, well then this is the video for you. Let's start off with some basics. Well, LeBron James was still on the Cleveland Cavaliers, Kevin Durant was on the Thunder, and him and Russell Westbrook actually still got along and were friends. Okay, that may be the craziest thing I say in this entire video, so I'm glad I got it out of the way early. Legend Kobe Bryant was on his farewell tour in his final season in the NBA, whereas Tim Duncan made his retirement announcement after the season. The Splash Bros, aka Stephen Curry and Klay Thompson, and Draymond Green and the Golden State Warriors were in the middle of putting together the best record in NBA history, defeating the Chicago Bulls' old record of 72-10 and finishing their regular season with a record of 73-9. Stephen Curry himself was on his way to becoming the first unanimous MVP in NBA history. Carmelo Anthony was still a respectable star in New York, where Phil Jackson was blowing up the entire front office and the entire roster. However, he looked like a genius with the recent selection of Kristaps Porzingis in the 2015 NBA draft. Joel Embiid had not yet stepped foot on an NBA court due to injuries, and his 76ers were the worst team in the league. But Sixers fans, your luck's looking up as you're about to draft Ben Simmons in next year's draft. Oh man, that could be a fun video for another time. Current stars Devin Booker and Karl Anthony Towns were in their rookie season, and Giannis Antetokounmpo was not the MVP he is now. He was still just a kid from Greece excited to be in the NBA. I mean, he was probably still having to run to games because he was giving all his money to Greece and could not afford a taxi. I mean, seriously, this is what he looked like in 2016, and this is what he looked like now. So yeah, things can change. The Raptors had a really good roster with their duo of Kyle Lowry and DeMar DeRozan. The Spurs hadn't gone into rebuild mode yet, and still had their core of Tony Parker, Tim Duncan, Manu Ginobili, and Kawhi Leonard. Speaking of Kawhi, his current teammate in LA, Paul George, was still in Indiana with the Pacers, where he was coming back from his horrific injury in 2014 at the USA Select Scrimmage, and he was now one of the brightest young stars in the entire league. Speaking of bright young stars, Anthony Davis was in New Orleans and still had no help. Remember, this was before the Pelicans decided to experiment with DeMarcus Cousins. Cousins was in Sacramento, stuck in King's Hell. The Wizards had John Wall and Bradley Beal, who made up for one of the flashiest fun duos in the entire league. This was, of course, before John Wall got injured. The Lob City Clippers were still intact, as Chris Paul, Blake Griffin, and DeAndre Jordan were still playing at an all-star level. Atlanta and the Hawks still had their core of Jeff Teague, Kyle Korver, and Al Horford, who the year prior had put together a really nice season, which included the #1 seed in the playoffs and an Eastern Conference Finals appearance. Houston had James Harden and Dwight Howard. Current stars such as Ja Morant, Trae Young, and Luka Doncic were not even thought of. And as for my Hornets, well, nothing really new, just average. However, the Hornets were able to make a playoff appearance with Kemba Walker and Al Jefferson, so woohoo! When it came time for the 2016 NBA Finals, the Warriors blew their infamous 3-1 lead to the Cavaliers, where LeBron, Kyrie, and company had finally brought a championship back home to the city of Cleveland. This offseason is remembered as one of the craziest in NBA history. Some of the craziest moves involved Dwayne Wade and Rajon Rondo to the Bulls, as Derrick Rose and Joakim Noah were traded to the Knicks, so this opened up spots for Rondo and Wade. Al Horford decided to join the Boston Celtics, so Dwight Howard replaced him in Atlanta as he signed a 3-year deal worth $70 million. Remember, this is the offseason where everyone was getting overpaid. Some of these examples included Allen Crabbe being given a 4-year, $75 million contract with the Portland Trailblazers, and Nicholas Batum being given a 5-year, $120 million max contract to stay with the Charlotte Hornets. But none of these were the craziest signing. The craziest was on July 4th, when Kevin Durant signed with the mighty Warriors after he himself blew a 3-1 lead versus Golden State in the Western Conference Finals. This made the Warriors the most hated team in the NBA for the next 3 seasons. The NBA draft welcomed players such as Ben Simmons, Brandon Ingram, and Jaylen Brown into the league. And finally, one of, if not the saddest thing to think about, is that we still had legendary NBA commentator Craig Sager here on Earth with us, as Sager was taken away far too soon with cancer. answer. So if you think about the league now and just how different it is, the amount of change that happens in just 7 years is quite the drastic one. But that's kind of like life. I mean, seriously, think about how your life has changed in these 7 years. Most likely, it's a lot. And just think about our world changing. And heck, think about our country changing. We've gone through 3 presidential administrations and a global pandemic. If you brought up a pandemic to people in 2016, they would tell you you're absolutely crazy. What I'm trying to say is that things change, and things will continue to change, not just in the NBA, but in life. You know that song by Harry Styles, As It Was? Well, life is certainly not the same as it was, and the NBA isn't either. But anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, show it by hitting the like button, sharing this video with friends and family, and hitting that red subscribe button down at the bottom of your screen. It helps me out a ton, and it makes my day. Until next time, I want y'all to have a great day, and I'll see y'all later.